Welcome to this week's edition of MIAA 360. Broadcasting live inside of the MIAA Network studio, I'm Ben Ferris. Coming up a little later in the show, we speak to Brian Morris of McCownGordon Construction about the new partnership with the MIAA. And then we'll head to the University of Central Missouri, where our campus correspondent Allyson Cook teaches us a little bit about the UCM Literacy Team program. But first, we head down south to Joplin, Missouri to speak to Missouri Southern University Athletic Director Jared Bruggeman about the keys to being a successful athletic director, the academic success of the student athletes at the university, and life in the balance as an administrator.
Jared, 8 years here as the Director of Athletics in Missouri Southern. One of the things that is a significant increase in fundraising, the resource developments that you brought to the table here. Talk about the keys to being successful in that area and the importance of it, especially in today's era of budget cuts at the higher education level.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And what's one thing that we have to do nowadays, and it's not always been the case, but just the way the situation is and the way that, especially the way the state operates now with the view of higher ed and what it brings to the table, athletics is not a component of that. So we really have to go out there and beat the bushes. But the way you do that is just get people engaged, whether they're in your major, just your booster club to start with, and they work their way up through that, corporate sponsors, and just getting out in the community. And the big thing is just engaging the people where they're at, whether it's at a country club or whether it's at their home or whether it's at their business. Just going out there and being in front of them and sending your message about what we're trying to do for the student athletes. And often that sells really well and people want to be a part of that.
Okay, also another area has been some facility improvements here on campus. Talk about some of those.
We've had quite a few. I mean, not just with the athletics, but overall for the university. But in the athletics department, we've redone our turf field, which was in dire need of that. Every year we always put resources into our Leggett and Platt athletic facility, which is basketball and track and field. We built the north end zone facility for a little over $9 million just a couple years ago, and that was through donations and contributions. We also built a baseball field, and all those things that we really needed to do. Prior to that, the student athletes had to walk across the street, a fairly busy road, just to get to practice. Our football players, and we didn't really have much for resources available for them if they were hurt or injured at practice or at a competition. So those are necessary things that we had to do, and we have more improvement plans going on for the future as well. A lot of things that we're looking at, including video boards and renovating the football stadium.
What would be your biggest challenge or some of your challenges you face in your role as the Director of Athletics here?
Well, I mean, the number one thing is financial constraints. Ideally it'd be, easy if this life would be pretty easy if you could just go ahead and have whatever you needed. But really we have large gaps just in operating between what our programs really need to be successful and what we have available. So we have to fundraise those gaps. And so that's what really is the biggest challenge overall.
Well, obviously you've had to make some coaching hires since you've come on board here at Missouri Southern. Kind of talk about maybe the process, and is it the same for every sport, and what are some of the key attributes you look for when you're identifying the coach you'd like to hire?
So, well, and it varies depending on what's going on at that time too, but we do have a requirement that the FAR would have to serve on any search committee for any head coaching position. That's a policy that's been developed here on campus, and it does fit with some of the ISSG components of the NCAA. So we do put a committee together to figure out how we're going to move ahead. But in some cases, we may already have a person on staff who's ready and been really trained up to be that next one in there. And so in cases like that, we will just go interim and then advance them on the following year. And we've done that several times here as well, besides just opening up a national search. When we do a national search, we put together a committee that includes a faculty member, it includes athletic staff, includes other head coaches in the department, includes whoever the president would like to have designated. And we always have an outside constituent, normally a linebacker steering committee member, which is our big booster club, and really incorporate that into the whole search process. We advertise it nationally. We sift through based on a matrix that we would apply, who's going to kind of come to the top. We'll do phone interviews somewhere between 6 to 10 people, bring normally 2 to 3 or 4 to campus for the interviews, and advance from there.
Obviously, athletic success is important, but so is a focus here on academic success, I think, evidenced by the fact that last year you had, I think, 175 student athletes with a 3.0 GPA or higher.
So, well, and actually, that's the thing. We do have several professional athletes. I mean, our basketball program has actually got many out there. We've had track and field professional athletes. We have volleyball. We've also got 2 in the NFL. So we've done very well, 1 in soccer. So they're out there, but really, with 500 student athletes this year, most of them are going to have to get degrees and go on and do something professional besides in sports. And so that's really been our emphasis, is to get the student athletes to graduate. We have a very high graduation rate compared to the rest of the campus. This last year in December, we had another student athlete graduate who's actually already a freshman in the medical school here in Joplin, KCU Joplin. So our student athletes do very well academically. There's an emphasis placed on that by our coaches. I mean, administration, we can only do so much. Really, it comes down to what the coaches want to really push, and they understand that our job is to graduate students and student athletes, and let's do what we can to make that happen.
Your experience as being a former collegiate student athlete, does that help you kind of in your interactions here with student athletes on campus today, and also kind of really drive home the point to you, the importance of the D2 philosophy of life in the balance?
Well, certainly it doesn't hurt, having been a Division II student athlete and up in the University of North Dakota. And I understand the time and the commitment it takes to be successful, as well as, the life and the balance of having to do well and, graduating with 2 degrees from the University of North Dakota as a track and field athlete. So that's very important. And my life changed because of those degrees. It gave me opportunities to actually be a high school teacher for a while and then advance on into the university ranks. So it's very important to have a background in being a student athlete, I think, so you can relate to what they're saying. Now, what I did 25 years ago doesn't correlate to what they do now, although it's always kind of fun to talk to track and field athletes, because I can still beat some of them in times. But just really right now, what we try to do is we try to emphasize it's about enjoying your experience, a championship experience at Missouri Southern and being an athlete, but it's also about the academics. It's also about developing lifelong friends and families. And so I do tell them at the start of the year, some of the people in this room are going to be, either you may marry one of them, or they'll be in your wedding, or they'll be your best man. These things never go away. And that's part of the whole balance of what we're trying to emphasize with them: academics, athletics, and really developing friendships for their entire life.
Well, we just talked about life in the balance for student athletes. How about for coaches and administrators, someone like yourself with a pretty busy schedule? How do you approach life in the balance?
Well, honestly, I'm not as successful at it as I probably should be. But the one thing I really will say is the December break that really got included a few years ago by the NCAA has been very helpful. Historically, we would host tournaments, or always be busy during the holidays, and now we've got that little window where it gives you a chance to go back and visit family. Otherwise, you just really don't get to see them on the holidays. You get to maybe see them in the summer or something like that. So that's part of it. But having young children right now, watching them play sports, watching them perform in the band or in choir concerts is important, and so you have to try to figure out a way to make those times and make those things work out, because as time goes on, family members get older and life gets in the way of what's going on. So it's too important to just kind of let it go to the wayside and not have a chance to experience more of that.
What are some of the key objectives or plans for the future here at Missouri Southern?
Well, I mean, certainly we have some facility upgrades that we need to be working on, and so we'll continue to do that. Also, we've tried to develop a better plan for our academic success. I think we've got very strong academic success, but we can do even more. Again, we want to have the highest graduation rate that we possibly can have. We want to have everyone graduate and go on and get those degrees. And so we're working on those type of things, and that's really what our future this next year is being focused on.
Obviously, 2011, Joplin experienced an E5 tornado. The university kind of became kind of a point of refuge for the community and stuff. You were here at that point in time. Talk about that experience.
Sure, that was one of the most traumatic experiences I've probably encountered in my life. We were hosting a graduation on that day, Joplin High School. Fortunately, it was here, not at Joplin High, otherwise the casualties would have been very severe. But just that whole month, right after that, we were put on shifts, as far as 12-hour shifts to kind of manage. Leggett and Platt and Young Gym were actually a shelter. We had lots of people that didn't have a place to live, didn't have a place to stay. We have a small hospital here on campus for part of our nursing program, and that was a triage unit because one of the hospitals in town was destroyed. So it was a great opportunity to see, how beneficial higher education can be and how strong the will of the people of Joplin are, and certainly the value that the student athletes that helped out and our faculty and staff and our coaches that all just pitched in to help everyone out was a really neat experience. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but it made us all stronger for it.
Last question. If a student athlete, or any student for that matter, would approach you and say, hey, I'm interested in a career in athletic administration, what are a few key pieces of advice you'd give them?
So, well, it's a grinded out type of a business. So, you have to take your lumps early on, where you're not going to get paid a lot and you're going to do a lot of work for not a lot of pay, but it'll be a great experience. And as time goes on, you kind of work your way through the ranks. So I would just say if you're really interested in it, you got to have to persevere for the first, few years to work your way into the door and really get the opportunities to experience what it is to to go to NCAA championships and to meet the student athletes and see them perform at that high level. Is just a great experience. So, but you have to take your time and just keep pushing through to make it all happen.
Next, we sit down with Brian Morris of McCownGordon Construction to have him tell us a little bit about the company and the new partnership with the MIAA.
Brian, glad to have you on today's show. Talk a little bit about your duties here, your role, your responsibilities with this organization.
I was brought on with McCownGordon not too long ago. Really, my focus is higher education and sports. I come from a collegiate sports background with about 15 years in higher education and in collegiate athletics. So really what I'm charged to do is really build the partnerships in this region, specifically to grow McCownGordon in what we're doing in the construction space and to make sure that we truly are giving the universities that we serve the best building experience possible.
Well, it sounds like a similar mission of ours at the MIAA. We always talk about bringing your A game. Sounds like the same thing's going on here.
Absolutely. We really pride ourselves in delivering the best building experience possible, and that goes from top to bottom. And one of the things that we really try to do is think like the athletic director might be thinking, or think like the university president might be thinking. How can we alleviate some of that stress? How can we answer the questions up front? How can we make the building experience as seamless and as positive as possible? And I believe McCownGordon is really forward thinking when it comes to that we truly look through the eyes of our clients, of our partners, and work our best to deliver an experience that not only are they happy with, but oftentimes will go and tell their colleagues about their experience with McCownGordon, and that's something that we really strive for.
The MIAA, founded in 1912, is the only NCAA conference headquartered here in Kansas City, as is your organization. Talk about what led to the partnership between our two organizations.
Being in Kansas City is a huge deal to us. We really pride ourselves on being based in Kansas City, and then also the entire region. And the MIAA, the footprint of the MIAA and the 14 member institutions really lines up well with McCownGordon, our company footprint, and who we are as an organization. So we just felt like it was a perfect fit to partner with not only the MIAA, but what we feel is one of the best Division II conferences in the country, and just really utilizing our resources to support the member institutions was something that we're really excited about and we thought would make a great team.
Now, your organization was founded on 3 core values about 20 years ago. Tell me about those.
Sure. Integrity, performance, and relationships are the 3 fundamental core values for McCownGordon, and we really let that drive every decision we make as a company. And so for us, with performance being a core value, athletics makes a lot of sense. And the MIAA has done a great job with obviously what they do with building young men and young women to become leaders in the community. We really felt like that we, as being performance driven, have a lot to bring to the table as well, and a partnership with the MIAA made a lot of sense.
You mentioned performance. Obviously, one of the pieces of this partnership is McCownGordon being the presenting sponsor of the MIAA Commissioner's Cup, which is based on performance over the course of a whole year.
Absolutely, and so being performance driven ourselves, that's a great area for us to be associated with the Commissioner's Cup, recognizing maybe not just one team that had a great year, but from top to bottom, the university or the college that has the most points that and has done so over a period of an entire year, not only shows performance being encouraged, but also from top to bottom success. And we really feel like as an organization that we bring that to the table as well, that we try to, with where it's our pre-construction services, whether it's building on site, whatever we do, we try to do with excellence. And so something like the All Sports Trophy that ties that all together is a great tie-in for our company.
Tell us about some of the projects McCownGordon has done regionally on higher education campuses.
Absolutely. We're extremely proud of the almost $500 million in higher education buildings that we've been responsible for in the last 5 years. And not to mention what we have done on MIAA campuses such as UCM, Northwest Missouri State, the KBI building on Washburn's campus. We're extremely proud of the work that we've done on those campuses, and we look to continue to help universities in the region grow and attract students and to really grow their footprint as we're growing our footprint. So it's been something that we take a lot of pride in, our investment into the communities, our investment on those campuses to really partner with those institutions to make something bigger and better.
We've talked a little bit about the new partnership, but obviously your organization's had ties to the MIAA already based on some of the associates that work here.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, just what we built on campus, but we did a little bit of digging, and we have 45 of our employees come from MIAA member institutions, so we take a lot of pride in that. That's almost 15% of our entire employee base, and so I think that's something really, really special.
Obviously, in addition to some of your current associates coming from MIAA member institutions, obviously this relationship will also open maybe more doors in recruiting future employees from our construction management engineering programs on some of our MIAA campuses now.
Sure, and exposure and partnership with the MIAA is what this is about, and we do hope that it increases exposure for us as we do recruit on those campuses. We actively recruit on quite a few campuses across the region, and a number of those are in the MIAA. So we hope that students that might be watching this or people in those programs that we typically will go after, see the partnership between the MIAA and McCownGordon, and look at us as one of their top choices that they want to come to work for.
Talk a little bit about some of the work you're doing in sports arenas, especially here in Kansas City.
Yeah, here in Kansas City is a big one. We're working on the old Kemper Arena and renovating that into probably what I feel is going to be one of the best youth sports venues in the region, if not in the country. And what we're doing with that is turning that into a multi-level youth sports facility that's really going to attract tournaments, rec leagues, youth leagues from all over the region to come in and participate. And I think with Kemper, everyone knows about Kemper and what it used to do as host of the Final Fours and just the great basketball specific venue that was. Now we're transforming that into really an all sports venue that is going to benefit a lot of youth for a lot of years to come, and we're excited about it.
You had a chance to travel up to Indy for the NCAA convention, spoke with our ADs and COs at our league meetings. Daniel and yourself, did you enjoy that?
We did, and talk about an amazing opportunity and really an amazing partnership for us already. I know you and I have talked off camera quite a bit about just what a great partnership it has been and what you guys have already done for us, but the opportunity to present in front of all those presidents, all those athletic directors, and just briefly tell the McCownGordon story on how we operate, how we feel like we can be a benefit to them, and really just start the relationship was hugely successful for us. So I want to thank you for that opportunity and really for the gracious welcome from all the university presidents and the ADs that came by and visited with Daniel and I afterwards. Is a great testament to the type of leadership you guys have in the conference, and then also just starting this new relationship.
I talk about some of the things that might be available for us to do together beyond just being obviously coming to the like the NCAA convention or being part of a sponsorship of some of our championships in Kansas City. But as you kind of make your move into your new office building, there may be even a chance to host MIAA events, meetings, and such.
Yeah, we would love to host the presidents and the ADs in our new building for lunch or whatever that might be when they come to town. We're really looking for all-in partnership, and again, as Commissioner Racy and you and I have discussed, we are looking to really benefit the member institutions and benefit the athletic directors and benefit the presidents, and we really would love the opportunity to welcome them into our amazing new building and just to really grow the partnership. That's what we're really excited about, and I think that based on initial feedback and some of the meetings we already have set up with a number of your institutions, it's being very well received. I think people can see that we're genuinely excited to help however we possibly can.
One of the first things the public will see about our partnership is obviously your involvement with our upcoming MIAA basketball championships. You're very familiar with that venue.
Extremely familiar with my time at UMKC and Municipal Auditorium, which I think is one of the best basketball venues in the country. So I'm excited to see it as a fan actually this time and not be worrying about running around working all the time. But I went and the last 2 years went and watched a number of games in the MIAA tournament, and the level of competition is first class. So anybody that is maybe on the fence about coming out to watch those games or hasn't made it out before, I really recommend coming out to Municipal Auditorium. It's a great venue. There's some high-level basketball, and some great coaches, great student athletes. It's a great time.
The Division II level at the NCAA, we talk about life and the balance. It's important to our student athletes, our coaches, administrators. That similar philosophy probably exists here at your organization as well, does it not?
Absolutely, and I'm relatively new to McCownGordon, and that was one of the things that really drew me to this company. Just today, I've had 2 senior leaders come up to me. We're expecting twins, actually in 2 days, and 2 senior leaders came up to me and said, "Hey, make sure you're taking time for your family. Family always comes first." And McCownGordon really lives that principle. And so it makes it a great place to work when you know that people truly care about you and truly care about your family. And success in the workforce is important, and we are driven by performance, but we're also driven by taking care of our families and making sure that we are taking care of our employees first and that those needs are met. And McCownGordon truly lives out that value.
Well, the MIAA, we're excited about this partnership, and we really appreciate it. Not just getting involved in some of our championships and such that we have in Kansas City here, but also being involved in some of the meetings and other activities we have in Kansas City. So again, we thank you for your partnership and thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you, and we're extremely excited as well. And one of the things that we hope we're able to bring to the table through this is just a relationship with the member institutions, and that they'll view us as a true partner, someone that has their best interests in mind. And I kind of say, with me coming from a collegiate athletics background, we think like the athletic directors, we think like the higher education employees, so that we can really help them connect the dots on questions they might have. How can we truly help them, even if we're not building their facility? How can we answer questions? How can we make sure that their facility goes as smooth as possible? And we're really excited about the future.
Finally, we head off to the University of Central Missouri, where our campus correspondent Allyson Cook teaches us a little bit about UCM's Literacy Team program.
Student athletes at Central Missouri made their annual visit to the Warrensburg Elementary Schools as part of the Literacy Team program. The program was started in 1992 in honor of Athletic Director Jerry Hughes' late wife, Carol Hughes, to promote the importance of reading to younger students.
She was a speech pathologist in the Warrensburg Public Schools, and obviously spent a lot of time as a speech pathologist working with young people in their reading skills and learning to read and so on and so forth. And she was very passionate about that, working with little kids. And then she also, loved the Mules and Jenny. She was a big sports fan, came to all the games. And so, upon her passing, I thought it was a good tribute to give to her.
Later on, Hughes' mother's name was added to the fund, making it the Eleanor G. Hughes and Carol Hughes Literacy Program. With the help of additional funding from UCM athletic sponsors, the program purchases new books for the schools. Student athletes then visit the schools to read those new books to the students.
And we think it's a great way for our student athletes to go out and interact with young people, the people that they're role models for.
The visit starts out with an opening ceremony, and then the student athletes group up and visit with the different classrooms. The student athletes are as excited to see the kids as the kids are to see them.
Just like experiencing kind of like showing up and them all being super excited to see me, because I remember when I was there, like the same kind of like I just looked up to them and I like to be a role model for them kind of.
Janvern was once one of those kids looking up to the student athletes when he attended Sterling Elementary.
I just remember being super excited and loved to meet them because, I grew up watching them, so it's just kind of like meeting a celebrity, I guess.
Not only are the athletes making a connection with the young students, but also encouraging them to read.
We read like half the book, and then we say, well, if you want to see how it ends, check it out.
The visits are memorable for both the young students and athletes, while also promoting reading skills. Reporting for the MIAA Network, I'm Allyson Cook.
That wraps up this episode of MIAA 360. From all of us here at the MIAA Network studio, thanks for watching. I'm Ben Ferris, and until next week, bring your A game.